E.N.D here, day 1 and only day for the spoilers of March of the Machine, the Aftermath. Yes, only one day for the spoiler season of the set. I believe that after the accident of the leaked collector booster boxes by Old School MTG and the Pinkertons, where 75% of the set was leaked, spoiled out, Wizards of the Coast decided to reveal the whole set at once. And if you want to know more about this accident, check my videos where I covered the whole story. Anyway, let's start. March of the Machine was all about Elesh Norn and the invasion of the multiverse, and in the aftermath we are going to visit each plane and how they are recovering, starting with Zalfir. Yes, Zalfir is back. Nissa Resurgent Animus. For 2 and 1 green, it's a 3/3 landfall. Whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, add 1 mana of any color. Then, if this is the second time this ability has resolved this turn, reveal cards from the top of your library until reveal an elf or element card. Put that card into your hand. As you can see, some of our beloved planeswalkers have really lost their spark. Animist Might for 2 and 1 green sorcery. The spell costs 2 less to cast if it's target a legendary creature you control. Target creature you control deals damage equal to twice its power to target creature or planeswalker you don't control. Karn Legacy Reforged. Karn lost his spark. For 5, ***, its power and toughness are equal to the greatest mana value among artifacts you control. At the beginning of your upkeep, add 1 colorless mana or waste for each artifact you control. This mana can be spent to cast non-artifact spells. Until end of turn, you don't lose this mana as steps and phases end. Open the way, X and 2 green. X can be greater than the number of players in the game. Reveal cards from the top of your library until you reveal X land cards. Put those lands on the battlefield tapped and the rest on the bottom of your library in random order. Leyline Immersion for 3 and 1 green. Enchantment Aura. Enchant legendary creature. Enchanted creature has Ward 2 and tap at 5 mana in any combination of colors. Spend this mana only to cast spells. Let's go on Zendikar with Kiora, Sovereign of the Deep. 3, 1 green and 1 blue. It's a 4/5 Vigilance War 3. Whenever you cast a Kraken, Leviathan, Octopus or Serpent spell from your hand, look at the top X cards of your library, where X is that spell's mana value. You may cast a spell with mana value less than X from among them without paying its mana cost. Tazri, Stalwell Survivor. For 2 and 1 white, it's a 3/3. Each creature control has tap, add 1 mana of any of this creature's colors. Spend this mana only to activate an ability of a creature. Activate only if this creature has another activated ability. The 5 mana colors, 1 white, 1 blue, 1 black, 1 red and 1 green. Tap, mill 5 cards. Put all creature cards with activated abilities that aren't mana abilities from among the milled cards into your hand. Reckless Handling for 1 and 1 red. Search your library for an artifact card, reveal it and put it into your hand. Shuffle, then discard a card at random. If an artifact card was discarded this way, it deals 2 damage to each opponent. Nahiri Forged in Fury. Nahiri lost her spark. For 1 red and 1 white, it's a 5/4. Affinity for Equipment. Whenever an equipped creature you control attacks, exile the top card of your library. You may play that card this turn. You may cast equipment spells this way without paying their mana cost. Nahiri's Resolve. For 3, 1 red and 1 white enchantment. Creatures you control get +1/+0 and have haste. At the beginning of your end step, exile any number of non-token artifacts and or creatures you control. Return those cards to the battlefield under their owner's control at the beginning of your next upkeep. Tarkir, Kologan Warmonger. 2 and 1 red, it's a 3/2 with haste. Whenever it attacks, look at the top 6 cards of your library. You may reveal a dragon card from among them and put it into your hand. Narset Enlightened Exile. For 1, 1 blue, 1 red and 1 white, it's a 3/4. Creatures you control have prowess. Whenever it attacks, exile target non-creature, non-land card with mana value less than its power from a graveyard and copy it. You may cast the copy without paying its mana cost. Sarkhan Soul Aflame. For 1, 1 blue and 1 red, it's a 2/4. Dragon spells you cast cost 1 less to cast. Whenever a dragon enters the battlefield under your control, you may have Sarkhan Soul Aflame become a copy of it until end of turn, except its name is Sarkhan Soul Aflame and it's legendary in addition to its other types. New Capenna, Metropolis Reformer. For 2 and 1 white, it's a 2/3 Flying Vigilance. You have Hexproof. Whenever it is dealt damage, you gain that much life. Basically, it's lifelink. Obnixilis Captive Kingpin. For 2, 1 black and 1 red, it's a 4-3 flying trample. Whenever one or more opponent each lose exactly 1 life, put a +1/+1 counter on it. Exile the top card of your library. Until your next end step, you may play that card. This is a good combo card with All Will Be One. Rebuild the city. 3, 1 black, 1 red and 1 green. Sorcery. Choose target land. Create 3 tokens that are copies of it, except they are 3/3 creatures in addition to their other types, and they have Vigilance and Menace. Rocco Street Chef. 1 red, 1 green and 1 white. It's a 2/4. At the beginning of your end step, each player exile the top card of their library. Until your next end step, each player may play the card they exiled this way. Whenever a player plays a land from exile or cast a spell from exile, you put a +1/+1 counter on target creature and create a food token. Strixhaven, Plarg and Nassari, 3 and 2 red, it's a 5/4. At the beginning of your upkeep, each player exile cards from the top of their library until they exile a non-land card. An opponent chooses a non-land card exiled this way. You may cast up to 2 spells from among the other cards exiled this way without paying their mana cost. Campus Renovation, 3, 1 red and 1 white. Sorcery, return up to 1 target artifact or enchantment card from your graveyard to the battlefield. Exile the top 2 cards of your library. Until the end of your next turn, you may play those cards. Ravnica, our beloved plane, have seen a lot and hopefully they will recover from this too. Undercity of Veil, for 1 and 2 green. Sorcery, Undergrowth, distribute X +1/+1 counters among any number of target creatures you control, where X is the number of creature cards in your graveyard as you cast the spell. Creatures you control gain Vigilance until end of turn. Nismizet Supreme, the 5 mana colors, white, blue, black, red and green. It's a 5/5. Flying, hexproof from monocolored. Each instant and sorcery card in your graveyard that exactly 2 colors have jumpstart. Teros, the Plane of Devotion and Fate. Deification, for 1 and 1 white enchantment. As it enters the battlefield, choose a Planeswalker type. Planeswalkers you control of the chosen type have hexproof. As long as you control a creature, if damage dealt to a Planeswalker you control of the chosen type would result in all loyalty counters of it being removed, instead all but 1 of those counters are removed. Calix, Guided by Fate, for 1, 1 green and 1 white, it's a 2/2. Constellation, when it or another enchantment enters the battlefield under your control, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature. Whenever it or enchanted creature you control deals combat damage to a player, you may create a token that's a copy of a non-legendary enchantment you control. Do this only once each turn. Kamigawa, Blowed Out, 2 and 1 black instant. Target opponent exile creature or planeswalker they control with the greatest mana value among creatures and planeswalkers they control. Death Rattle Oni, 6 and 1 black, it's a 5/4 with flash. This spell costs 2 less to cast for each creature that died this turn. When it enters the battlefield, destroy all other creatures that well dealt damage this turn. Nashi, Moon Legacy, for 1 black, 1 green and 1 blue. It's a 3/4 menace and ward 1. Whenever it attacks, exile up to 1 target legendary or red card from your graveyard and copy it. You may cast that copy. Kaldheim, these are happy celebrating the victory. Arnie Metalbro, for 2 and 1 red, it's a 3/3. Whenever a creature you control attacks or a creature enters the battlefield under your control attacking, you may pay 1 and 1 red. If you do, you may put a creature card with mana value less than that creature's mana value from your hand onto the battlefield tapped and attacking. Cosmic Rebirth, for 1, 1 green and 1 white. Instant. Choose target permanent card in your graveyard. If it has 3 or less, you may put it on the battlefield. If you don't put it on the battlefield, put it into your hand. You gain 3 life. Feast of the Victorious Dead, for 1 white and 1 black enchantment. At the beginning of your end step, if 1 or more creatures die this turn, you gain that much life and distribute that many +1/+1 counters among creatures you control. Tifar the Bellicose, for 2, 1 black and 1 green, it's a 5/4. Whenever 1 or more elves you control attack, they gain that touch until end of turn. Each creature you control has, whenever a mana ability of this creature resolves, put a number of +1/+1 counters on it equal to the amount of mana this creature produces. This ability triggers only once each turn. Kaladesh, Pia Nalar, the mother of Chandra Nalar, Council of Revival, for 1 red and 1 white, it's a 2/3. Top tiers you control have haste. Whenever you play a land from exile or cast a spell from exile, create a 1/1 colorless top tier artifact creature token with flying. Ixalan, Harness Snubhorn, for 3 and 1 white, it's a 2/5 with vigilance. Whenever this combat damage to a player, return target artifact or enchantment card from your graveyard to the battlefield. Filter out for 1 and 2 blue. Instant. Return all non-creature, non-land permanents to their owner's hand. One of my favorite, Tranquil Thrillback for 2 and 1 green. It's a 3/3. Enters battlefield, you may pay 1 green up to 3 times. When you pay this cost 1 or more times, choose up to that many. Destroy target artifact or enchantment. Exile target player's graveyard, you gain 4 life. Gold for Topteryx for 1 white and 1 blue. It's a 1/3 flying lifelink. Each legendary permanent you control has Ward 2. Eldraine Training Grounds, a nice reprint for 1 blue enchantment. Activate its abilities of creatures you control cost 2 less to activate. This effect can't reduce the mana in that cost to less than 1 mana. IRS Oathsworn for 1/1 black 2/2 menace. When it is combat damage to a player, if it has fewer than 4+1/+1 counters on it, put a +1/+1 counter on it. Then if it has exactly 4+1/+1 counters on it, search your library for a card, put it into your hand, then shuffle. The Candidate's Royal Funeral. We already saw this card, 2, 1 white and 1 black. When it enters the battlefield, exile up to 2 target legendary creature cards from your graveyard. You draw X cards and you lose X life, where X is the greatest mana value among cards exiled this way. Legendary spells you cast cost 1 less to cast for each card exiled with it. Dominaria, Tolarian Contempt, 3 and 2 blue enchantment. Enters the battlefield, put a rejection counter on each creature your opponent controls. At the beginning of your end step, for each opponent, choose up to 1 target creature they control with a rejection counter on it. That creature's owner put it on top or bottom of their library. Vesuvian Drifter for 2 and 1 blue. It's a 2/4 with flying. You may look at the top card of your library anytime. At the beginning of each combat, you may reveal the top card of your library. If you reveal a creature card this way, it becomes a copy of that card until end of turn, except it has flying. Urborg Scavengers for 2 and 1 black. It's a 2/2. Enters the battlefield or attacks, exile target card from a graveyard, put a +1/+1 counter on it. It has flying as long as a card exiled with it has flying. The same is true for First Strike, Double Strike, Death Touch, Haste, Hexproof, Indestructible, Lifelink, Menace, Reach, Trample, and Vigilance. Danita New Benayas Light for 1, 1 green and 1 white. It's a 2/2. Vigilance, Trample, Lifelink. Once during each of your turns, you may cast an aura or equipment spell from your graveyard. Ikoria, the Land of Massive Beast. Copper Cold Vanguard for 1 and 1 white. It's a 2/2. Each other human you control get +1/+0 and has Ward 1. Jirina, Dauntless General for 1 white and 1 black. It's a 2/2. Enters the battlefield, exile target player's graveyard. Sacrifice it. Humans you control gain hexproof and indestructible until end of turn. Dranit Ruins. It's a land. Tap for 1 colorless. 2. Tap. Put 2 +1/+1 counters on target non-human creature that enter the battlefield this way. Innistrad, Mark of Baron for 2 and 1 black. It's a 2/2. Convoke, Lifelink. Other vampires you control get +1/+1. Madness for 2 and 1 black. Sigarda's Font of Blessing, 2, 1 white and 1 green. It's a 4/4 flying. Other permanents you control have hexproof. You may look at the top card of your library anytime. You may cast angel spells and human spells from the top of your library. Amonkhet, Sammut, Vizier of Naktamun for 1, 1 red and 1 green. It's a 2/3. First Strike, Vigilance, and Haste. Whenever a creature you control deals combat damage to a player, if that creature enters the battle this turn, draw a card. Promos. Jorel, Voice of Zalfir will be the buy a box promo. And Spark Rapture, a 2 and 1 white enchantment, enters the battlefield, draw a card. Each planeswalker with 1 or more loyalty counters on it loses all abilities and is a creature with power and toughness, each equal to its number of loyalty counters on it. This card will be a bundle promo. Booster Fun will have borderless cards, planar showcase, extended art, foil etched, and retro frame. It's a nice way to extend a small set. So that's all for March of the Machine, the Aftermath. It's a pity that we had only 1 day of spoiler season. Anyway, don't forget to subscribe to my channel for more and more interesting videos about Magic the Gathering and the collectible world.